Gentlemen, now we are all ready to go for our next panel discussions. And the topic is need of an effective early childhood curriculum for a sustainable development goal. So ladies and gentlemen, I would love to invite all the panel speakers onto the main stage. May I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Amol Arora, MD, Shemrock and Shemford Group of Schools, New Delhi. Everybody put your hands together. Can I invite Dr. S.K. Rathor, Founder, Chairman and MD, Sanfort Group of Schools. Sir, may I have the pleasure to have you onto the stage? Ms. Geetika Bahuguna, everybody, COO, Millennium Education, Gurugram, Haryana. A very warm welcome, ma'am. Can I have Dr. Harshita Sharma, Founder, Director, Brainstorm International, Pune, Maharashtra. A very warm welcome. Can I have Ms. Simran Bakshi, Non-Executive Chairman, Vedanya International School, Gurugram. Everybody, please put your hands together for all our panel speakers. And we have moderator, Mr. Amol Arora. Everybody, please put your hands together for Mr. Amol. A very warm welcome, sir. We have all the panel speakers onto the stage. And Mr. Amol, you are going to take this panel discussion. And the topic is need of an effective early childhood curriculum for a sustainable development goal. All the best to all the panel speakers. Thank you so much. And we have 35 minutes for this session. Thank you.
Need of an effective childhood curriculum for sustainable development goal. Kisko topic yaad ho gaya? Right. Okay, how many of you feel that the early childhood curriculums in India are preparing the children for the dynamic world that they're going to enter in future? How many of you believe that? Today's early childhood curriculums. One hand, okay, 2, 3. How many believe that there's a need for a big overhaul in how ECE is being done right now? And how many are not going to raise their hands no matter what the question is? Okay, I think, see, I was looking at this topic that need for effective early childhood education. I was like, why will the audience listen to this or wo bhi lunch se pehle? So let me tell you why it's important for you. And school leaders, principals, entrepreneurs, planet bach jayega, theek hai, sustainable development goals, we all know that. But beyond that, I think it's a really good way for schools to differentiate themselves. Because today, if you don't differentiate, madam, wahan to fees itna mil raha hai, wahan discount de raha hai, you need to differentiate yourself. I think it's a great positioning statement. You can build a lot of relationships with your community when you're doing activities, curriculum around SDGs. You can be involved with NGOs. So I think today's session, what I'm going to do is, I've actually, for the first time in my life, I've come up with a questionnaire. Those of you who know me, I'm always on the fly. Ye dekho, kafi bada. I come with my notes. So, and I know it's a very good thing to say, SDG are good, अच्छे हैं. Everybody aware of the SDGs? Raise your hand, please, if you're aware. Raise of SDGs, अच्छा, we know that. So those of you who did not raise your hands, or those of you who are not going to raise your hand for any reason at all, there are these 17 ones, and no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, and 17 good things that it's basically a vision for how we see the world. So I'm going to ask you questions now for everybody, since, so isn't, Mr. Rathor, straight away to you, isn't this too complex for little children, first of all, कि बच्चा 2 साल का है, उसे बोलना नहीं आता, pencil पकड़नी नहीं आती, and we're talking about words like sustainability, hunger. So is this too complex for children, or do you think there is a scope for including SDG in early childhood education?
See, ये सब जो 17 जो गोल आपने गिना है, 17 ही है ना?
मैंने 17 गिनाए नहीं, 17 है
ना?
वो 35 minutes ही बचे थे.
You never know, any one more we added after a year or two, है ना? तो पिछले 2 साल से 17 ही सुन रहा था, तो मुझे लगा कि 2 साल बीत गए, कहीं 18, 19 कुछ तो नहीं हो गए.
नहीं, सुबह ही प्रिंट आउट लिया मैंने. नहीं, सुबह ही प्रिंट आउट लिया मैंने.
So what, see, as Amol and me both are for decades into this early childhood education, है ना? तो मुझे तो लगता है कि बच्चों को खेलने देना चाहिए. ये सब चीज़ें बच्चे अगर 2 साल 3 साल 4 साल के बच्चों पर इफ़ वी आर गोइंग टू इम्पोज दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, कैसे समझेंगे वो? व्हाट आर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स? आप में से कितने लोग हैं जो 17 के 17 एक बार में खड़े होकर बता सकते हैं हाँ दीज आर द गोल्स? नोबडी. So why to impose these kind of difficult terminology into early childhood education? One thing. Second thing, see this is the foundational stage. अगर मैं स्कूल वाली भाषा में बात करूं तो this is the foundational stage. So the duty of early childhood educators and the edupreneurs like me is to give them a strong foundation. Give them how to understand the things, how to grasp things, how to communicate, how to eat, how to respect themselves and the others. This is the basic things what we people are doing for last so many years. And I think अभी तो वैसे ज़रूरत नहीं है. सभी यहाँ तो सब K-12 वाले बैठे हैं, सब ने एक क्लास ऐड कर ली है ऑलरेडी, तो हमारा काम हल्का है. तो वो जो नर्सरी केजी और फिर फर्स्ट आती थी, अभी वो नर्सरी जूनियर केजी सीनियर केजी या LKG UKG ऑलरेडी कर दिया लोगों ने.
आई थिंक 3-4 से ज़्यादा हो गए क्लासेज.
3 साल हो गए हैं उनकी क्लासेस. हमारी जो पहले 2 क्लासेस होती थी K-12 में, सो हमने भी कर दिया है, आपने भी कर दी होगी. तो बेसिकली द ड्यूटी फॉर वी पीपल जो प्योरली प्री स्कूल एजुकेशन में हैं, अमोल और मैंने तो चलो K-12 भी ऐड कर लिए, बट जो प्री स्कूल एजुकेशन में लार्जली वी आर इनटू प्री स्कूल एजुकेशन. सो हमारा काम वहीं की वहीं है कि 2 साल के बच्चे को 1.5 साल के बच्चे को अपने स्कूल में लेना है, उनको बेसिक सिखाना है, बेसिक मैनर सिखाना है, बेसिक ईटिंग हैबिट डेवलप करना है, उनको एक्टिविटी के साथ लर्न कराना है, ना कि ये सब चीज़ें मुझे लगता नहीं कि कोई यूज़ की हैं उनके लिए. ग्रेजुअली दे विल पिक अप व्हेन दे ग्रो.
So clearly Mr. Rathor doesn't see the need for sustainable development goals in early childhood education. What about you? Any of you feel that there's a scope for that? Don't you think that, okay, let me go on now again become the devil advocate on the other side. But when we talk about preparing our children for a future where the world has to be sustainable, right now this word of, we are seeing what's happening in Himachal and all that. So we ultimately have to realize this is important. And why not start early, and why not incorporate elements of the SDGs into our everyday curriculum? Can it be done, or do you agree with Mr. Rathor that ki kuch zarurat nahi hai? Is there anybody who has a contrarian view to that?
So I completely, probably because I also deal with K-12, so I have a completely different view. I feel SDGs can actually create a framework for early childhood education. Why are we educating a child? We are educating a child for the university or for the universe. I think if we know why is education important, and we just had these talks by our esteemed panelists and our speakers earlier, where Mr. Mandal, who shared that, we have to also link, he talked about reversing, you start from the university and then you come down. I talk about you start from the early childhood and then you go up. Because who is going to sustain the world? Who is going to create? Who are the people who are going to be contributing to the nation, to the communities, to the global world? It is the children who are in the early childhood care. And I think that's everybody. I think all of us know that that's the most rapid.
But don't parents want कि मेरे बच्चे को तो L तक कराया नहीं आपने वहाँ उस स्कूल में तो वहाँ.
So how do we do it? No,
so
that's
how do
the
you
process.
So how do you balance that need for academic achievement as well?
It cannot be in isolation. See, skills, values, they cannot be taught in isolation. Everything has to be integrated. Now, what kind of examples? Now, it depends. There has to be clarity in the mind of the teachers, of the educators. If they know where we want to take this child in future, we know that the child has to learn the value of no poverty. If they know, the child needs to know that there has to be zero hunger. So they are going to be linking it. They are going to facilitate this in the classroom. So it can't be an isolated process. Yeah.
Can I go
we
on
can
to
go
that?
to the next.
So ma'am, so this leads me to the next question. You talked about teacher quality.
I said it has to be the framework, and if it creates it, it will become an ideal framework for early childhood.
This is very interesting. We now got two panelists on the opposite side. This is going to be interesting now. Maza aayega ladwane mein. Ma'am, what about you? Where do you stand in this? First, let's see which side you're on. So, do you think there's a scope for this? Because it's obviously complex, it's challenging, but ma'am feels that this is a great framework to align our ECE, and especially things are changing with the NEP and NCF coming in. So why not use this opportunity to take one more framework and put it all together? Where do you stand on this? Do you think there's a scope for SDG and ECE?
Yeah, it is a scope, it depending upon, like, if we take one step at a time. See, the 80% of the brain when we talk about is developed in the early years. I think SDG and ECC curriculum, if it is aligned, I think the key components will match very well, which is very important. Now, when we're talking about even the Panchakosha, the first, which is your, the physical health and well-being, directly linked to your third SDG goal, which is there. So it is all aligned, but then how do we do it and where do we take it, which is there. The second is again your, Pranamaya Kosha and Manamaya Kosha, which is the second and the third layer in the Panchakosha. Now that is not only for the children as well, but also for the teachers. Why value is a subject and not a skill? Because it is something which you can't just do it as a subject that you're doing for the, question answers and tick, 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 and why can't it be a, skill which can be developed? Children can be molded very nicely in the early years, and that's where the SDG, if it is aligned, because I develop my attitude and behavior in those years. So few, like, as you started, the basic concept, why when I'm talking about not like, say, having an empathy, why not playing with animals and birds? Why not having a friendship with the trees? Why not, talking about the things which I need to connect with the nature and with minimum resource? I don't need the complicated resources and everything. And it all aligns with what we are talking about, the SDG which is there. But yes, in all this, what is also equally important is teachers' professional development, where if they're aware, this is my learning outcome.
Aren't you increasing the complexity for teachers as well? Because here, especially the pre-primary level, practically half the time I'm looking for somebody who can speak English. So when we have that skill set, especially in early childhood education teachers, and here we're expecting them to make these connections from a traditional curriculum into SDG is a difficult one. So don't you think this is hard for teachers to implement, or being unrealistic in terms of the expectations?
NEP again has made one thing very simple, which is multilingual classrooms. If that is also taken into consideration, then coming to your emotional well-being, which is also very important, how do you reduce that stress which is there? What are we doing about that? Do we need a lot of complicated curriculum for that? No. But we need some movement in the class, the free movement in the class, with some music and some, even if you don't have, maybe big instruments, but again, there are various modalities to do that.
Mr. Rathor, your mic, please. So now what do you have to say about this? Because people, the educators clearly feel it's doable, ho sakta hai. So why being so...
I have never said it's not doable.
No, but should it be our focus or not?
I have never said it is not doable, one thing. Second thing, whatever these people are saying, they are very right. I am not against them. But I think you will be agreed. We people are doing all these things for last 23 years. You must be more than 30 years. So in our schools, before the sustainable development goals came out, we are doing before that. 23 साल मुझे अर्ली चाइल्डहुड एजुकेशन में हो गए. Amol's brand is more than 30 years old, and for last 23 years, each one of my school, or maybe 100% I am sure कि Amol के भी सारे schools ये सब कर रहे हैं बच्चों के साथ में. We are doing the animal love and all the plantation and everything. So what is the difference? So only the differences of the document. Now only the differences of the document.
So
what practically we were doing, now it is on the document.
So the topics have not changed.
Yeah, mic, please.
So the topics have not changed.
No, it was focused in case of Amol for more than 30 years. It was focused in my case for last 23 years. But now it is the focus of everybody in early childhood space, whether it is Balwadi, Anganwadi, or whether it is single unit preschool or regional brand or national
See,
brand.
I think they are all talking about how you make children feel, and it also is talking about not what to teach. It's all about, like, say, how to teach, which is so
See, what I feel, anything if you know where you need to take the child, when you know your end goal, then you would do things in a systematic manner. So if the goals are there, you know what the child has to do when he's 2 plus, 3 plus, so the same concept can be
But
done
then
with
we already have NEP. Why do we need SDG now coming into this?
No,
So
no,
isn't
SDG
this just too many structures?
No, you...
And on top
So
of you have the parents saying, "Ki ma'am, aap cursive kyun nahi start kara rahe?" And so you have the pressure from parents as well. You have the teacher capability, and then
So
you're
that
saying, "Ki ab
is-
SDG bhi karao bachon ke
So
upar."
I think that is where, I always feel what is a challenge in education is the parents and the head teachers or the headmasters who are running the school. Teachers are not a problem because teachers learn, children are not a problem. The problem is you are not able to transform the way things are happening because of the top leadership and of the parents. Because of the demand, the parents expect cursive has to be done. And the leaders expect because they have come with some experience and they feel that's the way to go about it because they have learned it in a certain manner, so they need to learn. They need to make children learn in that manner. So I think there it has to be a disruptive way of kind of, going ahead. And SDG is nothing. Now that when we talk about global citizen, so it's a global, I call it like a universal value. Earlier we used to do value education.
But
You
then
all must be
the
doing.
counter could be, what about patriotism? What about Indian patriotism? There's nothing to include that. If I use SDG as my framework for teaching, then not only my local culture for Punjab, for Gujarat is different. Now you're talking about a
so it
globalized
is
citizen.
in
So
cultural diversity.
is SDG sufficient?
No, so it will fall under one of the goals. Whatever you are doing, it will fit into one or the other goal. Whatever you look at the ECE curriculum, they will all
Let
be
me check.
addressing some goal.
I think it will also depend upon individual schools how they take it forward, which is there. So that is also
Yeah,
there.
and,
So if I ask you, like, who is a famous cricket player? Yeah.
Yep.
यार हमें बोलने
So
का मौका नहीं मिल
if
रहा
I
है।
ask you, who is the famous cricket player? What name comes in your mind first? Kapil Dev, Virat
It's your
Kohli.
choice.
Abhi,
Yeah.
sir, SDGs mein we are talking about the fifth goal. What we're talking about is gender equality. Even as all of us are sitting, the first
Only the
name
male.
strike is male. Why not the female, where we have the best of the players, which is there?
And
So-
children learn.
No, gender equality now again, you have social sensibilities, there's religion in our communities, which does not necessarily propagate a gender equality. Now there's a clash over there. So I'm just saying that the local sensibilities kahan jayenge? If I take SDG as my overall framework, is there scope for that? It's not a one size fits all for India, right? Or not for the whole world. How do we? I'm just trying to say, is this a decent framework? Is this a framework we need at all? Or do you think it's good to incorporate only the good parts of it, or baki chhod do? Is that what we're trying to say?
What is your definition of education, if I may ask? Why do we need to educate our child?
Audience, please answer this one.
Why do we need to run preschools?
हम
So,
जिंदा
we're
हम
going
जिंदा
back
क्यों
to
हैं?
the
हम इंसान पैदा क्यों हुआ?
question.
Where did life come from? Topic क्या था? We're going out of syllabus over here.
I think the problem is we consider
No,
early
just-
childhood we don't take it seriously. I think the problem is that we consider early childhood to be just a playway, just to while away the time, and that is the perspective. Whereas this is the most critical stage in a child's
Disagree with
life.
that. No one's taking it very casually. In fact, we specialize in this, and this is
Yeah,
something that
I know.
it's a foundation years for a child, and once the attitude towards learning is built at this stage. But I'm just questioning the need for SDG in early. That's my question. It's not
See,
the question of
that is
the
aligning
importance.
the world. That is aligning, it's
Do we
about...
need to be aligned?
Why not? Where's the harm? If a child is more sensitive, where's the
Okay.
harm? If you can,
Ma'am,
it's not...
It's all
Okay,
about. It's
Without
all
the
about.
name, but
okay,
you
let
are
me
still
ask a
doing it.
question then.
One is still doing it.
But
Everybody sitting on the panel is very serious player in the early.
Yes. I know.
His father and mother invested their whole life into early childhood. They are passionate. They were passionate. If he has adopted his father mother's profession, it
Yeah.
means he is passionate and he has invested his life.
No, I'm
If
sure.
I am into
Absolutely. Yeah, so it is just a handful. See, in the
चलो इस पे तो
government,
agree कर गए हम.
there was no,
We all agree.
there were only in the government sector, there was no early childhood. There was, you have, what do you call that, Bal Vatika, but otherwise there's no formal education. And Bal Anganwadi and Balwadi, and that was the reason why children had these learning
But
gaps.
when we talk
and-
about India as a whole, this is where the majority of India is not the handful of preschools or schools that we all run,
Absolutely.
private
You are
schools.
still the premium.
Right.
See, you would be doing
So
that,
how
you're
does
just a
when we
handful.
talk about SDG as an ECE policy, how will this get implemented in a? So isn't
It
this
will
going to?
get implemented better? Because in the rural, I've worked in the rural sector. I've worked with the government for 10 years. I was, where I know that over there teachers are more, if they understand the relevance and significance, they would do it, they would implement it to the T. Whereas I think in the cities, that's where the people come with the attitude that I know it all, So that's where the clash is. But the passion lies in the rural, and passion lies, and I think if this can be taken on a mission mode, our children are going to do really well.
I'll just give
I
count.
think that as she was talking about the rural, you have the natural resources are by default very close, and it is easily available to children. It's just where you can just ignite that spark and give them that direction, and you'll see that the wonders can be created.
So do you
there.
believe, Sandra, there's two different things we're talking about. One is a standardized approach, a top-down approach in terms of a structure and a curriculum, and second is where you're giving sparks to teachers and children perhaps to come up with those ideas. Which ones are you
I would say
talking
the
about?
early years, the reason is, as your habits, your behavior, your attitude, everything is molded in those years which is there. And if it is aligned, because right from the beginning, rather doing the corrections later on, I think I would rather build on that.
Yeah.
So I've learned something and I would just have the next layer, and it becomes a very, very solid foundation. So a building, I can't start from the top and go to the bottom. I'll start from the foundation and it goes up. So I think it
So,
answers your
we
question.
do it. We are anyways doing it. In all our, annual themes for Talent Fiesta are based on SDGs. And our pre-primary children are actually, they're doing role plays.
So obviously
they will not be doing
we can always map those things and say, okay, this is
Yeah.
connected to that
It's
SDG.
about sensitizing them, making them aware, and making them take ownership of it. It's easy to build it there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll like to give you one example. Yesterday I was in one of the rural school, and we had few children. Like a day before yesterday, we had a short session with the children, and we had like say environmental, minister, and we had so Paryavaran minister. So it was and the next day I'll tell you, and they were all 6 and 7 years old children, and cleanliness was an issue which was there. Immediately the next day, the school timing is at 10:30. Most of the children, they came at 8:30 and they cleaned their classrooms, because that awareness of I owning the responsibility, and I'm aware that this is also equally important, and you're creating that safe environment and also the trust which is there. So I think children just need that.
I think, yeah, that's what I was talking about. This is an opportunity to use SDG for schools for a branding purpose. It's actually a cost saving where children will start switching off electricities. I'm sure as school leaders, I've gone through rooms and I've gone through
No,
switching off
yeah,
ACs and
instead of
and
switching
fans.
maybe the electricity, why can't we have the classrooms where you have a good ventilation, and maybe you have the classrooms where you have the natural light coming in more. Even that can be a thought process apart from you have the solar, this thing. But
Yes,
I
yes.
know that minimum resources available.
I think creating that general consciousness in the school community is a good framework for doing that. So Mr. Rathor, I'll come to you with this question. So do you believe then, because when school chains operate, and we operate in very remote locations where, although ma'am has a very positive image of rural India, there is a question of teacher capability in such schools where, and I was talking to a gentleman outside, he's standing right at the back complaining about teacher quality, कि teachers ऐसा homework देते हैं. So there is an issue, and so is there a need for a standardized curriculum, and do you think SDG gives that format? Because already we got the NCF rolling out, and or as ma'am was saying, we can pick up good things from there. So do you think there's a scope where we put it into a systemized format and say, because teachers need to get direction as well, and you cannot just depend on teacher ability to get the spark every day. So where do you see that for schools and school chains as well? So
See, as ma'am said about rural area, see we have very good response wherever we have started our preschools in rural area. See, last year itself we started one preschool just 60-70 kilometers from my office in UP, some Bagpat district, pure village, and first year we crossed more than 200 admissions. So, but challenge is how to deliver the quality classroom education or activities what we are doing in the cities. In that case, we struggled a lot because we need to find out the trainable teachers there, because teachers who are already trained or who can deliver the content what we are providing to all of our branches, it's not possible there. But to find out the trainable stuff is again a big challenge. So in that case we had to compromise up to certain extent without compromising on the quality of education. In those cases our head office resources required much higher, because we have to send our people frequently to train those teachers, those people who are less trainable. Everybody is trainable, but it takes much more time to train them
In this entire process,
and bring them to our running schools in Delhi. You see here, you stay here for 2-3 days and understand how to
So
deliver.
that's a question of lack of exposure.
Yeah, lack of exposure.
And in
One
this,
thing.
I think the
Second thing, the problem is the people in the village areas, girls, जो भी teachers हमारे हैं, all female staff we have. So in that case, they don't want to learn more. ठीक है ना, time pass करने के लिए कर रहे हैं. So this is the problem with the attitude. The attitude problem is there. We are doing for the time pass. So
Then that's also a
that
question
is
of
that is
the
the
salaries
challenge.
as
And
well.
with the help of technology, अभी टेक्नोलॉजी का क्या है कि जो बाहर जितने भी लोग टेक्नोलॉजी वाले बैठे हैं, या पिछले पैनल में सचिन जी ने भी कहा था कि टेक्नोलॉजी का कितना इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए, मेरा अपना मर्जी का सवाल है. तो टेक्नोलॉजी कैन नॉट डिलीवर एज मच व्हाट वी कैन डिलीवर इन द सिटीज़ एंड मेट्रोज और बी ग्रेड सिटीज़ और एनी अर्बन areas in villages, because those people who we are training to deliver the classroom, they don't understand the technology,
I think
and they
it-
don't
yeah.
want to understand basically.
But in this, the most important thing is the stakeholders are even the community engagement. So what kind of support you can get it from the community, I think that helps a lot. So we have been engaging all the community, the awareness, about what we are doing, why we are doing, and then taking their support.
And that takes care of the question of parent pressure on school leaders. कि वहाँ तक क्या, so you have to align the parents as to why you're doing something and
Why
how
they're
it
doing,
how it benefits their child. आपके बच्चे के लिए कर रहे हैं. So even if I'm not starting cursive writing this year, but I'll do it next year, but your child will learn to do this. He'll develop empathy. He'll develop this skill set of sharing, which are all going to be
So here, at least in cities, this is the pressure. But in the rural again, the pressure is not that. It is the child not coming to the school.
The
also,
pressure is pressure
right?
on the school is
Yeah.
कि वो
So-
आपने अभी तक तो उसको पेंसिल पकड़ना नहीं सिखाया,
हाँ.
अभी तो ए लिखना नहीं सीखा है, because they don't understand
lot
the
of
age appropriate curriculum we are going to deliver in our preschools.
I'll just share that, we have this forum where we invite the parents and the children present as to what all they are studying. And let me tell you, I was there in a couple of schools where children were talking about how they are learning about the SDGs. In fact, they were the ones who informed their parents, and they were the ones who also applied it in the classroom, like, your save water. So children actually have done surveys at home, and they come back and they tell us that, I have reduced the water, pilferage in the. So there are things that goes very well, and parents are very happy. They have to be made aware. We have to
Right.
go beyond, the old norm of education, and we have to make them more global and more, for the
Agreed.
universe. Than,
Awesome, super.
Yeah.
I think we've come to the core of the problem is parents, and we're going to align them. And if we can do that, if with our right intentions, I think we can definitely implement. It has a lot of. There were some people who were jumping up at the back, raising hands. Yeah, see. There was one hand over there, one hand over there. I think few times.
SDG also gives you a good scope for critical thinking, creative thinking, because these are all problems. And at every level, children can actually, they come up with solutions.
And if you use these things, I mean, I'm sure the grades in your school class 12th exams will go up. Again, a benefit of using.
Amolji, Secretary
May I
NCERT,
just
he
speak
has...
for 2 minutes?
Right.
So, of course, as an audience, we've been
Just be
listening.
quick about it.
No, I'll be quick, not as long as you all have been, and discuss.
We
this.
had our, okay.
Yeah. So I think there has been a little digression from the topic. It says need of an effective early childhood curriculum for a sustainable development. For sustainable. Now, first of all, why do we need? Why this over the last couple of years a talk about sustainability, right? It's not a curriculum that has been thrust on us by anybody.
Yeah.
We today as a planet, as humanity, are on the brink of extinction if we do not start taking necessary steps to reduce consumption and messing up things the way human beings have done. If we don't do that now, these little children, our future, they will bear. So we are going to leave a very dirty, messy planet for our kids. That's the whole concept of sustainable development. How do you create that awareness? And I beg to differ. The earlier we started, the better. I'll just give 2 examples. We are not sort of making things complex. When we do a cooking activity in a class, in even a pre-primary classroom, we have, every month we have a cooking activity with the little children. Now, boys and girls, they're doing things together. They're peeling the potatoes, they're shelling peas, they're mixing, they're whisking. It's not कि ये kitchen का काम है girls करेंगे या boys नहीं करेंगे. You are teaching them gender equality. When you are bringing a little creature into the classroom and you're showing the children that this is a little, as it has as much a right to live on the planet as we do. And if animals and birds and flowers are not there, we cannot teach them biodiversity, but in small ways, they do understand that these are all interconnected. When do we start all this? And I beg to differ. We all talk about trainable teachers. How many school heads and school owners actually do ongoing training of their teachers? It's not you call a resource person once in a way, or you send your teachers for a training once in 6 months and you think they'll become trainable. It has to be an ongoing process. You handhold your teachers. You train them, you teach them. So let's stop passing the buck.
That was discussed, that the core is going to be alignment of teachers, training of teachers, and alignment of parents.
And the final thing, sir, is that we need to, because I know we do it at our school. I'm very happy to share that we have been declared by Global Schools a case study. We are the only school in India that has become a case study for education and sustainable development. And we do it right from the preschool. We have a letter from Global Schools and Seth Anandram Jaipuria School, Lucknow, right? And we'd be more than happy to share what the work that we've been doing the last 2-3 years. But it is very doable and it is the need. If we don't do it, sorry to say how many of us or how many of our children will be alive.
Thank you, ma'am.
In the future.
Ma'am, at the back.
In fact, likewise, we are doing it. It's like a part of our curriculum.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I so agree with all the ladies over here, ma'am who spoke and there. And I was surprised. I'm sorry, sir. I was shocked because I have been with the little elementary years children for last more than 2 decades. And I really feel, and I agree with ma'am, why is it difficult to amalgamate it? And as you rightly said that we have been doing it for years. Exactly, we have been doing it for years, but now is the time to make it more constructive, to have an objective, to reach out to people. That this is what we have to focus on for the future of our children. Because if we will keep wasting water, there will be no water. You have been telling them, but now you have to tell them quality education. Beta, this is called this. Zero hunger, don't waste food. When they are having their meal, just say, we are not going to waste food because some of them are not.
There are lots of opportunities to bring them.
And it is up to us. Then why are we here if we cannot train our teachers? Then we are not progressive schools. For last 5 years or maybe 6 years, I have been doing with elementary years sustainable development goals, and they have been learning so well. And I think I can say that with great pride. The little ones understand better than the senior ones.
They're like a sponge at that age.
And you
Yes.
tell them,
do it
do
diligently.
this, yes. and
Thank you, ma'am.
if you just
Thank you.
I think Sir would like to speak, Sir,
Yeah.
because I know there's a lot of hands being raised, but I think in the interest of time, in the interest of hunger, we'll.
Thank you so much. And just a piece of information for all the participants here. The National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Education has been released.
Right.
This curriculum framework is the outcome of an extensive consultative
Yeah, right.
process where 4 crore people, including educators, children, people who have been running education systems, all have participated, given their opinions, and culling out from these opinions, the highlights of them have gone into constituting this curriculum framework. And after the curriculum framework, the Jadui Pitara has been released by the Honorable Minister of Education, who is also the President of NCERT.
Yeah.
This Jadui Pitara has been released in 13 languages, and it's going to be released in more languages to cover all the 22 languages which are included in Schedule 8 of Indian Constitution. Besides these, also the textbooks for class 1 and 2, because the foundational stage is constituted of 5 years of early childhood education.
Right.
So the textbooks for basic numeracy and basic literacy have also been released, and they have been given very musical names. Say, for example, the workbook for basic literacy has been named as Sarangi.
Okay.
The book, another book in English language has been named as Mridang. So they're very musical names. And now, so far as teacher training for foundational education is concerned, NCERT has covered almost 4 crore teachers from all the states through its NISTHA 3.0 program. And this teacher training program, which is in service in nature, is available online
Yeah.
through NCERT portal. And this is a 1-year continuous program. Teachers, even as they keep teaching in their respective schools, can take this training program through online mode. It is being done physically as well. So now, for the past 3 years of a child's foundational education, the Jadui Pitara, which includes a lot of material for them to learn things through activities, are available. And this is not just a straight-jacketed Jadui Pitara. The schools at the local level can also create such kind of educational material, and mostly through playway methods and various kinds of activities, both the teachers and students can know about the spirit of the SDG goals. It's not a theoretical learning, it is getting exposed to things, experience it, imbibe it, and then become a true citizen, not only of the nation, but also of the world. Because at the heart of the SDG 4 lies citizenship education.
Yeah.
This is what is being endeavored.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I think we all agree that SDG is a very important tool, and was trying to play the devil's advocate. But I think what it is important to understand for everybody is that this is the framework if we want, this is our promise actually to our own children,
Right.
that this is the world we would like you to inherit. But how do we empower them? By starting at an early stage itself. I think we all agree as a society, as a community, as educators, we need to start this early. So that's how they'll develop and not just future-proof themselves, but give them the skills so that they can create this world. Because SDG is nothing but a dream for us right now, because we are not, as ma'am was also sharing, it's not sustainable what we're all doing, right? So I think this is something I think we all agree upon. It needs to be done, and we appreciate NCERT for giving us the guidelines for, because which was missing at this stage earlier. Before class 1, we had nothing to go with. The tools, the trainings, I think they've looked at it very holistically, and I think we leaders can then take it up from there, look at our own communities, improve, look at resources, create, innovate, align the parents, align your teachers. I think so there is a positivity, and I think we can start with that awareness first of all, that this is important and this needs to be done. And if our hearts are in the right place, I'm sure our children will have a brighter future to look forward to. Thank you so much, everybody.
And it's a mandate. It's no longer a choice.
And I think if we sum
It is.
up,
It is.
like, say,
We have to do it for our children, for our for our own futures as well, for our
right? So
for the planet.
If we
So
have, say,
we all understand it has to be incorporated in every day, as ma'am was saying. True. I think we all agree with that. But see, the same thing what NEP has done, it has aligned the whole country with one vision. NEP is not a government mandate as a padhana, right? We all now align. So similarly, SDG also gives us, our staff, also parents also. So when ma'am was talking about that the parents responded well, we all know that. So I think this is what SDG has done, and we can take this framework and build on it. Now, we're not expecting to be robots over here. So let's take this framework. It's a positive framework, start early, and I think
baby steps. Like, everything has to start.
yes, true. So thank you everybody for this session. I mean, those of you, I know some hands were still going up, but I have a red light flashing in front of me about time's up. And Chandan's face is coming on the monitor saying, sir, bas karo.
and I think
Right,
this
thank you so much.
this-
Thank you everybody for this.
And I think this alignment can, just end it like, say, काश जिंदगी एक खुली किताब हो, हर एक पन्ने पे एक सुनहरा ख्वाब हो, हर बच्चे के चेहरे पे एक मुस्कान हो, न कोई किताबों का बोझ हो, न कोई विषयों का बंधन हो, काश हर एक स्कूल खुला आसमान हो और हर पेड़ों से बातें करने का एक एहसास हो और पक्षियों से मिलने का और दोस्ती करने का एक खुशनुमा एहसास हो. And that's what all about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful panel discussions. I would request all the panel speakers to kindly come ahead, as I would like to present Memento. Yeah. So may I have the pleasure to invite
I wanted that. I mean, for me, I felt it was a topic which was, what is there to disagree? Sab, I agree karte jayenge. So that's why I made my notes of a devil's advocate. I said, kaise criticize? How do you criticize the SDGs only? And what do I say negative about? So I had to do that. I wanted to be provocative a bit. And I think I've achieved that when I saw the hands going up. But the whole idea was when you make it provocative, it makes people think. And we all, as educators, should always be questioning our beliefs, and that was the whole idea. So apologies if anyone felt bad about my words about that. It was just meant to be, and I totally agree that. Yeah. So that's what, I mean, if people like us don't do it, then ma'am, then who's going to align the parents and teachers? If we are blessed to be in Delhi, have all these, conferences to attend, technology at our disposal. If we don't spread out through the country, through our schools, then who else is going to do it? So I think it's our responsibility. So
सबको बोलने का अधिकार है.
Thank you, sir, for
Thank you. And may I have the pleasure to invite Professor Pratyush Kumar, Secretary, NCERT, Government of India. Sir, everyone, please put your hands together. So requesting you to present the mementos to all our panel speakers for such a wonderful, productive session. Thank you. Mementos, please. To Mr. Amol Arora. Everyone, put your hands together. Thank you. Dr. S.K. Rathor. Everyone, put your hands together. To Miss Geetika Bahuguna. Everyone, put your hands together. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now to Dr. Harshita Sharma. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part with our panel discussion. Everybody, put your hands together. We can all come together for a group photograph.